Well, I've seen Ukraine's NATO facility.
And we are live with the hell of
terrible state of connection so far, but
Yeah, it's a little choppy on your end there, my friend.
but do you hear me?
Light and you're freezing.
I can hear you perfectly, so I guess that's who the audience is waiting to listen anyway. So just before we start, let's remember everybody to like, share, subscribe, and also Encontre Currents here on YouTube, and like, share, and subscribe to the Press of Mass Destruction. Larry Johnson, my good friend, how are you doing, man?
I'm just staying busy. It looks like you're enjoying Rio.
Yeah, hot, rainy, and fun. What can I say about Rio? That's it.
Yeah.
Not enjoying the connection, the internet connection so far, but
Boy,
I have plant on my neck.
Brazil needs to catch up with China.
Let's put things in perspective. Brazil needs to catch up with the United States. Then we can care about China.
Yeah. China's setting the standard for how to have internet.
Yeah, I've seen some. There's a famous TikToker, American TikToker. He went to China and he was amazed that he could do live streams in 5G in the middle of nowhere. That's kind of impressive. Even for Europe, even in Europe, I tried to do a live stream with my cell phone once, and sucks.
Yeah, I hear you.
And things are going crazy again, and I would like to start today with Ukraine. And I don't like to drag the questions, but I have a perspective, a perception perhaps, and I would like to ask you about this. Just recently, Putin said something that was not new, but I think he said out loud for the first time. That is that it's impossible for Russia to deal with the current Kiev regime. Just after that, immediately after that, we see the corruption scandals, and now Donald Trump this week just basically said, well, Russia's not such a bad dude. We can perhaps talk to them. But Zelensky, that guy annoys me. Do you see this as perhaps, a soft landing for the United States to get the hell out of this and just drop Ukraine under the bus?
Well, I think Ukraine's getting thrown under the bus now. Well, not thrown under the bus. They're getting what they deserve. I mean, let's be clear about that. This we just saw today. I was trying to look up here to see if how the mainstream media is they're picking it up yet. So Trump, he did an interview. I forget who the interview was with, but he was saying that Ukraine now needs to hold elections. So that's a significant shift. Up to this point, the United States has been saying, well, no, everything's okay. Well, Zelensky is not viewed by Russia's legitimate ruler because he suspended the elections and basically declared martial law. So this shows Trump coming around to the Russian position.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I see about this is that, let's not tell everybody that we lost the war, but let's start, slowly sweeping this away, sweeping under the rug, so people will have time to digest and forget about these issues. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Venezuela, for example. Do you see this soft landing, or it's just natural moves? Okay, let's do diplomacy. We should.
Well, what do you mean by soft landing?
Basically acknowledging the loss of the war, but not publicly saying, "Yeah, we lost it." But let's slowly, dilute all this information so people can get used to this and forget about this. Not simply saying, "Yeah."
Well, I mean, Trump, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, he said Ukraine is losing the war. So I don't see them soft paddling that at all now. I think it, and then when you put that in the context of what Don Jr. said in Doha, just trashing Zelensky, I think the Trump administration now is going full bore to get rid of Zelensky. Zelensky. I'm doing I'm doing the Duran thing where they call him Zelensky.
Exactly.
But no, I think there has now been a clear decision made. Zelensky must go, and they will try to reconstitute the Ukrainian government with someone that will be acceptable to the Russians. That the Russians will say, okay, we can negotiate with this person, we can potentially sign an agreement. But that said, it's not going to change the nature of the war. Russia's not going to say, okay, we don't want all those oblasts. No. They've made it clear. Crimea, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, those are all permanently now part of Russia. That's not changing. The only thing that's going to change is whether or not Russian forces will continue to hold territory in Dnipropetrovsk and Kharkiv and Poltava and Sumy. And I think they will. But unless basically Ukraine must surrender on Russia's terms, and they can keep those other territories, which would include Odessa. But if Ukraine doesn't surrender and meet Russia's terms, Russia's going to take Kiev, Russia's going to take Odessa, Russia's going to take Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Sumy at a minimum.
Yeah, I remember, I guess, back in 2022, I remember you all already talking about, the Dnieper line, probably getting a hump state from Dnieper to the west and to the Dnieper to the east. Almost certainly everything's going to get cut. And from my perspective, it has always been clear that Odessa at least needs to be founded by Catherine the Great, but also because of the burning of 100 plus people on the syndicate building Ukrainians that live in Ukraine. I remember that situation. Yeah, things are not the last 3 years. Now it's just sounds a little bit like the beginning of get this rolling and let's move to the next thing. So moving to the next thing, I would understand more or less, but Venezuela. What the hell is going on there? Are they still planning on doing something? What's going on?
Well, it could be one of two things. When I was at the CIA back in 1989, I watched how the United States spent a year a year plus trying to provoke Manuel Noriega into doing something so we could justify a military intervention. And it took a little more than a year for that to finally unfold, where the United States launched its invasion of Panama in, was it November or December of 1989? No, 1988, to stick that back. So it could be that they're planning this long, drawn-out effort to provoke, but I don't think that's what's going on. I mean, I'll leave that out there as a possibility, simply because you have too large of a force deployed. It's costly to deploy it like this, and it also affects the readiness. They're not able to be as combat effective the longer they stay out there floating around off the shores of Venezuela. But the problem is the United States does not have enough forces. If they're going to simply bomb Venezuela, all it's going to do is destroy some buildings, some property here and there, kill some innocent Venezuelans. It may or may not end up killing Maduro, but that doesn't change the fact that you still have to be able to get in on the ground. And Venezuela is a place where a guerrilla insurgency fighting back would be very, very tough. In fact, almost impossible to eliminate without an infusion of troops that would be devastating for the United States. I mean, we're talking to go in and, quote, pacify Venezuela, we need more than 500,000 troops. And the United States doesn't have 500,000 troops. So it's like Trump's painted himself into a corner where, we're trying to project all this military. We don't have it. It's not a matter of flipping a switch. And, we saw the limits of that strength in the Red Sea with the Houthis. I think they're hoping that the longer this goes on, that they may be able to pay off some current army generals in Venezuela and launch their coup and get rid of Maduro. But getting rid of Maduro is not going to end the so-called problem, because Maduro is not the problem. The issue here is the United States wants control of Venezuelan oil, period.
And gold. There's also a huge reserve of gold. Not only Venezuela, it's also the north of Brazil, which is, north of Venezuela is also very rich on lands. And also the oil. I mean, we're having a lot of issues here in Brazil with, the NGO people, putting itself in front.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Because it's just the NGO stuff and all the rest of everybody.
Yeah, they completely take advantage of it. That's what. So you're looking at you got the border with Colombia, then the border with Brazil, and then the border with Guyana for Venezuela. So, and like I said, Venezuela is a huge landmass. Compare, it's bigger than Vietnam, bigger than Iraq.
Yeah, and it has a very, very particular geography, especially with the Amazon rainforest and the hills, the mountains that you have there.
Well, yeah, the mountains and triple canopy jungle. I mean, come on.
Not easy at all. Not easy at all.
Yeah, so twice the size of Iraq and 3 times the size of Vietnam. And so look at how many troops we had to put into Iraq to try to control that. We're unable to control it. That was 130,000 in 2003. And in Vietnam, a war which we lost, where we pulled out, we couldn't defeat the North Vietnamese. We had over 500,000 troops in Vietnam, if I recall correctly.
And I always remember one thing that you mentioned, that it's a number that the United States is also averse to losses. It was about 50,000 North Americans, and
Yeah,
people had a very bad life.
you mean how many U.S. soldiers were
Yeah,
killed?
you mentioned once it was about 50 to 60,000, something like that.
But I was right. The largest at one point, the peak troop strength of the United States in Vietnam was 543,000, and we still couldn't conquer a territory that's roughly the third the size of Venezuela. But that's what I say. This stuff is just crazy. Trump is his mouth is writing checks, his ass can't cash.
But since we mentioned Trump, let's move a little bit to the United States itself. It's been a while since the last time we talked about the United States. It's the situation, on the ground there. I see some very interesting movements when I see Trump, flopping. One day he says something, the other day he says something different. But I have the impression that he genuinely wants to play the game. I understand that, but he looks like he's genuinely wants to fix some issues. And at the same time, we have some other parties on the United States, Mark Rubio, and Pete Hegseth, all the suspects, Pete Gallup, the dude with the chick's name. How is this playing out in the American politics, Larry? Inside the United States, how do you see, the American people and the government with the president and with his partisans inside the United States?
Well, who are you referring to? The guy with the chick's name? Oh, you mean Lindsey?
Yeah.
You mean Lindsey Graham? Okay, I'm with you. I'm tracking with you now. No, look, the biggest problem Trump has damaged his support among his base. The people who are the genuine MAGA people, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, they are the people who are very supportive of Trump have turned against him now. So he's lost a significant segment of his support, and it's potentially recoverable, but he would have to reverse himself on a number of things. He'd have to stop being such a warmonger, even though he claims that he's a big peace president. That he's still seen as facilitating the genocide of the Palestinians, and it does now look like he is serious about ending U.S. support for the war in Ukraine. So that'd be a step in the right direction. So if he repairs the damage on the foreign policy front, then he's got to be more open and transparent in exposing all the crap surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and focus on the economy. His use of tariffs have turned out to be a complete bust. In fact, he had to come out yesterday and announce a $12 billion program to put money in the pockets of U.S. soybean farmers who no longer can sell their product to China. Because China told the United States, Trump's got some, he's effectively a lame duck. So the only thing that he can do now going forward is try to preserve the majority the Republicans have in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And, there's not a lot, the public opinion polls show there's a lot of dissatisfaction with Trump and with the Republicans. So they could be in trouble.
Yeah, not good for him. Hard to govern over that. And this year we have midterms, right? How you're seeing the
Next
Yeah.
year,
next?
2026.
Yeah, it's December already. I have already closed the deal for the
You're
5, I
you're
guess.
jumping ahead of New Year's.
Uh,
It's a few weeks away.
Exactly. On the political, you know, on the people choosing for political on these midterms, do you think Trump is going to get a little bit of support? Because when he was elected, he had about 52% of the Congress, right, with him.
Well, if the midterms are held now, Republicans probably lose based on Trump's popularity. But you know, the elections are about 11 months away, and a lot can happen in about 11 months. So Trump could turn it around. But he's up to this point proven to be pretty stubborn in holding on to positions, and frankly, I think he's mentally not as fit as he once was. His attacks on people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are just over the top, completely out of control. So, if I had to, I would predict now that I think come next year, the Republicans will probably retain their narrow margin in the House of Representatives, and they'll retain a slight edge in the Senate, but the majority they have now in the Senate will be reduced to like a 53 to 47. It'll probably be like 51 to 49. There's no clear mandate coming. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's very narrow difference. So yeah, you have to dance better. And I just want to ask you one thing in that, so I can get the jar here. I have been forgetting about Europe for the last month and a half. I don't think there's so much. So this fine over X, and it looks like Elon Musk got pissed off. Man, how do you see this influence in Europe and perhaps the European Union very strongly, I guess?
Europe is now human history. There was a time when the Greeks were the center of global activity, at least in terms of influencing the future, the role of their culture. Then the Persian Empire, and then we had the Roman Empire. Then Genghis Khan did his thing. Then with the Ottoman Empire was sort of a confined phenomena, but the one that really had a global impact, starting in the 15th century in particular, was Europe. With the rise of Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama, the exploration of the world originating out of European funded adventures, the colonization of Central South America, the United States, Africa, India, China, and other parts of Asia. So from that point on, in the mid 1400s until now, it's been really a story about Europe and Europe's control of the world, both financially and militarily. Well, the end of World War II essentially destroyed Europe's military capability, but the United States became a proxy for Europe at that point. The city of London, the banks in the city of London continue to sort of, if you will, be at the forefront of global finance. That's now coming to an end. It's dying. It's dead. They just don't realize they're dead yet. The Europeans are no longer relevant to global affairs. They are a pimple on Nat's ass. They control no resources of any significance. They're not a major industrial power. They're certainly not the leading innovators of critical technologies. They're just, a bunch of, I'll call them indulgent, arrogant fools. And, they're still capable of causing some mayhem and harm. But their era, the 5 centuries in which the Europeans, or the European empire, you wouldn't have had the war in Vietnam were it not for the French colonial empire, the World War II, the Crimea War, go back to it. The rest of the world was not engaged with these kind. A war that took place in Africa, nobody cared unless it involved the Europeans, outliers. Well, now we're coming to the end of the European era, and we're living through it.
Yeah.
One thing that I found very interesting about all of this is that my opinion has become a solution, but then it created another problem because now they need the big war, except Europe, and fragmenting back Europe to the state of states. It's a powder keg. European Union fragmented.
Look, the European Union is. I think it's going to be coming to an end. It's almost to stay weak. Look at it right now. The total of the combined population of the United Kingdom, France, and the field military ground forces, a little less than 500,000 between the three of them. Whereas the European people, think about that, they've got 1/10 of the population of those 3 European countries, and wanted Ukraine to have an 800,000 man army. It's just, like I said, these people.
Yeah.
That's bad news for me. I still be there. But let's see how it's warm and cozy here in Rio.
Yeah, that's good. Did you say thank you very much?
Go ahead. I just, it's cracking.
Okay, yeah.
Oh man.
Froze up.
Yeah. Thank you